AEW UFC. Oh my God, those 6 letters all mashed together. Are you ready for this? Are we teasing even more upheaval in the wrestling world? Tony Khan's billion-dollar will could be bringing in some huge names from the Octagon. Plus, CM Punk is teasing something on August 20th, the same day that AEW is going to be in Chicago at the United Center, but it's not what you think he's teasing. We're going to get into all of it on today's Sportskeeda Wrestling Top Story of the Day. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out! Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. What's up, everybody? I am Kellam, and that is Jose G _. If you haven't done already, why have you not hit like? Hit the like. I'm spanking you. All right, hit the like button and share the link so you don't stink. A lot of big news on today's show about Tony Khan and him maneuvering even more names and players in the wrestling sphere, the combat sports sphere, that universe that is bigger than just wrestling. Also, CM Punk, the most talked about man in wrestling, who hasn't wrestled in 7 years, is making some big moves in entertainment. And is it all just a ruse? Is it all just a ruse, Jose?
I don't know, man. There's a lot of stuff coming out. We might have been worked. He might be working us. Yeah, man. Tons of stuff coming out today, dropping in the good old news cycle, especially today with CM Punk, man. Today we got to find out that he had an interview with Sunday night's Main Event podcast, where he's actually talking about his appearance in Chicago that's going to be going next week, lining up and coinciding with AEW Rampage. But we'll jump into that. But more importantly, let's talk about this Tony Khan UFC tease that he gave us today, because as per usual, Tony Khan makes his appearances on Busted Open Radio. Now, it almost seems like on a daily basis now.
I think he's on there at least once a week now.
Well, it makes sense if you're going to plug in Dynamite and try to bring that up. But this week, we were supposed to have an angle with Dan Lambert from American Top Team. A few weeks back, I think it was last month, we did see him kind of just, trash talk AEW left and right. We saw Amanda Nunes and we saw Masvidal in the crowd. And today, he mentioned that Dan Lambert is not going to be appearing on tonight's Dynamite, but however, he's going to leave that for next week. And he invited 2 UFC champions that will be making an appearance at next week's Dynamite. Who will it be? I do not know yet. They did not jump into details, but it will be interesting to see if we do get to see Amanda Nunes in AEW or Masvidal again in AEW. I mean, those guys made an appearance.
Both those fighters have worn titles, right?
Yeah.
So they had them on Dynamite, like that Road Rager. Rico was at the show, right?
Road Rager, yep, down south.
And then the big talking point out of that show, that was their first big show back in front of a live crowd. That was the first big wrestling show televised back in front of a live crowd in the United States. Mm-hmm. And so they're there out of nowhere, and Dan Lambert cuts his promo, and Lance Archer lays him out. Everyone's talking about Malachi Black, Aleister Black coming back. But I thought that was like the number 2 story on the show, was that why are these UFC people here out of nowhere and unadvertised? Now they're teasing something with it. Lambert already has a reason to come back, as Archer laid him out, right? He already knows how to cut wrestling promos. He was an on-screen character at Impact for years. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what Lambert's bringing, the idea of an invading force. My only issue is it's another faction, but I think you have to do that to kind of hide whatever pro wrestling performance capabilities you have in the people you're bringing over. We've seen this before. Like when they're going to bring in Floyd Mayweather, they're going to have a handful of goons around him who can take a little bit more bumps to keep the angle going, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Lambert, for his own, I took a huge power bomb from Lance Archer in that whole angle. So he cuts a promo. They ran the teaser. He's coming back. It makes sense. I don't think this is like a shocking thing by him that they're bringing in somebody from the UFC, and who it is a little bit more telling. I mean, is there anyone besides Masvidal or Nunes do you think that could be a huge name? I mean, I'm the biggest name they could get is McGregor, but he hasn't said anything about it.
Yeah, no, he hasn't said anything about it, and we did hear a little bit about McGregor on yesterday's interview with Riddle, where he kind of teased and talked a little bit about if he would be a good fit for WWE. And by the way, you guys can check that out on our YouTube channel, exclusively on YouTube. Great interview. Great interview. But moving back to Nunes and moving back to Masvidal, I thought that story would have gained more steam when we saw Road Rager. It didn't gain as much steam as I thought, but it'll be interesting to see how they really work together. We've seen UFC work together with WWE in the past in some aspects, but let's see how they do with AEW. And Dan Lambert did some great promo work, and let's see when he brings his guys or girls with him next week. Let's see how that turns out.
Definitely sound off on this. AEW Rampage debuting this Friday. So this will be the debut episode. I know there's been some people tripping up on that with everything being promoted at you. A lot of people think the debut episode is August 20th in Chicago, United Center. Oh, that's where CM Punk's going to show up. We'll do a CM Punk story here in a minute. But no, it is this Friday. I've been asking people about this recently. What do you think of Rampage on Friday nights? So we touched on this a little bit. I want to know what fans are thinking. Are you more intrigued into Rampage? Do you want to make Friday night your wrestling night? For a lot of people, that's people going out. As the world starts to open up, even with the Delta variant, there's not many lockdowns in the United States. You still have people going out and doing things. Is the new wrestling night Monday night or Friday night rather, because you have SmackDown and then you have Rampage right after it. I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. Like I want to see how this plays out. Given the show, I think it can be very hard for Rampage to be as big as Dynamite, but I don't know if it has to be, right?
Yeah, it's like I mentioned yesterday, this is going to be the real test of numbers when it comes to their viewership, because the last time they were on Friday, they were on the playoffs, and this was like the first time ever, and the numbers didn't do very good for them, hoping that they would carry over the viewership from SmackDown over to AEW. So let's see how this week, because it premieres this week, let's see how this week goes. And like I said yesterday, I hope that they can pull over 700,000. I think that's a safe number to bet after SmackDown, with no other major sports interfering there.
Some people telling us there's an issue with the Facebook feed. We'll look into it, man. We'll just keep charging ahead here if you guys are with us live. Thank you for the support though through all of that. I'm thankful. We may have gotten cut off on our Facebook feed, so we don't know what happened there. So we'll check into it.
I'm checking in right now. Go ahead and keep going, man.
Going. All right, so the CM Punk story is interesting. CM Punk is been rumored now. We've been talking about it for looks like 2 months to show up in AEW. We've had some people say he's a lock. CM Punk's coming back to pro wrestling. CM Punk has said things like, I don't want to return to wrestling until there's live fans. Other people saying there's no way with the legal wranglings and the legal fight he's had with the WWE that he would ever go back there. And then we get the news. As you can see here on screen, he's playing his rabies-oriented character, which looks nuts. No tattoos. They did some makeup to cover up those tattoos. And this is for the upcoming Heels TV show on the Stars Network. This is Stephen Amell is going to be a part of this show, and he plays a wrestler, and it's a dramatic series, and it's based on a wrestling promotion. So get wrestlers on the show who have acting experience, and then you got CM Punk on the show. Cody Rhodes is also on the show. We've heard people say that he looks in great shape. You're looking at the picture, he looks fantastic, right? Looks like he's ready to do something fun, right? And then we get the report that AEW is going to run Rampage in Chicago, his hometown, where he's made history with wrestling before, and that it's going to be his big arrival in AEW. And now AEW hasn't flat out said we have CM Punk, and he's announcing, and they haven't rolled anything out. Obviously, you know that by now. But they've all but teased it. You had Darby Allin saying he wants to take in the best in the world in Chicago at the United Center. Sold out. That is over 20,000 tickets. Game-changing stuff. All of the math is there. You're caught up. Now CM Punk throws a little bit of a wrench in the plan here to make it a little bit more interesting. They're not stirring the pot with a wooden spoon. They got a wrench in there, clocking around in that hot soup. So what do they got, Jose?
Yeah, man. So like I mentioned a little bit at the top of the show, and by the way, we are having an issue with the Facebook, so we're gonna have to figure out how to get the stream back on there. But yeah, like I mentioned at the top of the show, CM Punk was interviewed on Sunday night's Main Event podcast, and he was asked about the question flat out: is he going to be at AEW Rampage at the United Center in Chicago? And funny enough, he had a really good response for that. He said, quote, I think I might be doing a screening. This isn't confirmed yet, so I probably shouldn't blast this out everywhere, but we're talking about doing a screening of episode 3 of Heels at AMC in Chicago. That's one of the dates that has been promised. I hope to see everyone there, end quote. So that's into that question there. Then they ask him a question about Darby Allin's comments about the best in the world comment promo that he had. And he responds in the most CM Punk way.
What's that?
Best in the world? That could be anybody. That's Bryan Danielson, right? That's my assumption. I hear he's the best in the world. So nice little CM Punk little.
Well, and you got the reports that Daniel Bryan's going there as well. Bryan Danielson.
Exactly. So
and Bryan Danielson did go by that name. What a swerve! If they came out and they did Bryan Danielson debuting in Chicago, do you think they would boo?
I don't know. I think
you think the crowd would be like, no, we thought we were getting Punk. That's what the rumors say. That's what all the rumors are saying, right?
Yeah, I don't know, man. See, I'm coming from a place that I'm not expecting anything big yet because nothing's been confirmed. Everything is hearsay and chatter and this and that. So I don't know how to really take it when it comes to like, oh, Punk's going to show up at United Center on the 20th, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. But if Bryan shows up, that'll be very surprising, especially since we've been hearing that it's going to be later towards September and All Out. So that could be the swerve. It could be that they switch places, that Bryan shows up at AEW Rampage and Punk shows up at All Out. So either way, if that is the case, if we are going to get both guys, just be happy, guys. Don't get, sad and angry and upset. I thought I was going to get Punk today. I bought tickets because I wanted to see
You're
Punk.
those people that are like, hey, I told my friends, this is my prediction, and now you made my prediction look bad, because there's going to be people that do that too, where it's
exactly.
like, I said this was happening, and it didn't happen, and now I look stupid, so I'm mad about it. You have plenty of fans are going to be like that, though, too. If you're getting both, and you're an AEW fan, or you're just a wrestling fan, and you're a fan of CM Punk, he's coming back to wrestling. Also this heel show looks awesome. Like the more I read and see about this show,
can't wait.
It looks really, really good. There'll be a bunch of stuff coming out. I know tip of the cap to Denise Salcedo. She was doing some coverage of the event for the various different outlets that she works for. One of the best people in wrestling media, by the way, just a great reporter. And she showed pictures of like what the red carpet was like. And like they made it very wrestling oriented, and I was like, that's really cool. And I was like, that's awesome thing. And they appreciate the details here. Don Skaggs saying, so he is screening episode 3 2 days before episode 2 premieres. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a screening, it's a private screening. Sometimes they'll do stuff like that all the time. Especially for TV shows that are trying to build up an audience, they'll do private screenings like this. That isn't a super uncommon thing. Maybe it's uncommon now just because people have been locked up the past few years. I can tell you, as someone in Chicago, stuff like that happens quite a bit. To do screenings for media here. And different. Also, there's a lot of like advertising firms that'll do those as well. They're private screenings for TV shows to try and get people to advertise them. And there's ad buying houses and these different kind of like secondary market things that you need to do to make a TV show work, licensing, all that different stuff. That happens a lot in Chicago quite a bit because there's a lot of companies like that here in Chicago. So it's not out of line. I also kind of know where the theater they would do that is. I don't know for sure. Most likely that'd be AMC River East, which is right in downtown Chicago. And I would say that is probably a half an hour drive from the United Center. So if they really wanted to like, really just throw the trail off somebody.
It depends on the timing, because let's just assume, let's throw out hypotheticals here, right? So let's just assume that the screening is at 6:15-ish, between 6:15, 6:30, right? Episode's about 45 minutes long so you have 2 solid hours to say, welcome to the screening. Thanks for coming to the screening. Shake a few hands, make it to the United Center just in time to close out AEW. Yeah,
I think that's what it is. I think this is just try and swerve us, try and keep it a little bit more interesting. Try to, is it necessary? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's completely necessary. So we told you earlier about AEW teasing some names. I know this is an AEW heavy show, but
Tyson Fury.
That's the news we have here. Jason Michael saying, in terms of big UFC names, why don't they get Tyson Fury to AEW? Confirmed. Jose, get ready. If Tyson Fury does anything else in wrestling, it's with WWE. I think.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you that as a report.
Is a marquee name.
Yeah, he already wrestled for them in Saudi Arabia. He likes to make money in big money situations. I'm not saying that AEW doesn't have that money, but he already has a line of work with WWE. He did that match with Braun Strowman, which, by the way, as a boxer getting in a wrestling ring, he did not have a bad match. Like, I didn't think it was the worst athlete doing wrestling thing. It wasn't fantastic, but I can tell you, Drew McIntyre wants a piece of Tyson Fury and wants it in a major stadium in the UK. He flat out told that to me and Rick Ucchino a few months back. So I think if he does anything,
Wembley, right? He wants him at Wembley.
They want Wembley. They want to do the first big wrestling. They want a WrestleMania in the UK, man, and that's a way to do it. So let's cover this story. Do we have a new Paul Heyman guy? And do we have a new Paul? It's so many people who aren't wrestlers getting into wrestling now. It's so crazy to be covering that story here. What is the story here with a gold medalist? Just won the big gold medal. Congratulations to him, Team USA, one of the best amateur freestyle wrestlers in the world. That is the legitimate sport of wrestling, not the show of wrestling. Gable Stevenson, who's been seen at WWE events, and WWE executives have praised him and his talents. Now, this is before the Tokyo Games. Now you have Stevenson saying he wants to be a Paul Heyman guy.
Guy's a beast.
Curious. And this is a big name. The guy's a legitimate background. Now he's got the hardware to go with it. WWE does really, really like, if you've figured it out over the last few decades, likes recruiting athletes. They like bringing in athletes and turning them into WWE superstars. How old is Stevenson? He's not way up there, right?
I'm gonna say he's probably near 30. I don't know exactly his exact age, but he's got to be under 30. But yeah, man, Gable Stevenson, man, he's gotten not only the likes of WWE executives, but he's also gotten that Brock Lesnar rub too. But yeah, Gable Stevenson recently had an interview with Sports Illustrated's Justin Barrasso.
Oh, he's young guy. He's in his 20s.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I would think. But yeah, he recently had an interview with Sports Illustrated, Justin Barrasso, and he was talking about possibly signing with WWE and becoming a gold medalist. And here's what he had to say by saying, quote, "If I ever go to WWE, I'd be a Paul Heyman guy. Heyman is a legend. We'd be two people doing great things, and that would be a tough team to beat. And I've known Brock since I was in high school. He's been there for me a long time, making sure I do things the right way and put my best foot forward. WWE has been so great to me."
I'm gonna put the stamp on this. There's a reason he's a Paul Heyman guy. Minnesota Golden Gopher. Brock Lesnar wrestled there. Brock constantly visits the wrestling team there. Brock made his name first there before he was in UFC, before he was in WWE, before he tried for the NFL, New Japan, WWE, whatever. He was a wrestler at University of Minnesota. I think, come on, Golden Gopher's been good to WWE. Brought them Lesnar, brought them Shelton Benjamin. University of Minnesota, quite the feeder system for Stanford, isn't it?
It sure looks that way, but this would be a great combination, in my opinion. I don't know if you've seen any of his matches in the Olympics. The guy is an absolute beast, and I think he has the look. I mean, I'm gonna put it back up on screen, but he definitely has a WWE look to him. That guy would sell tickets. That guy will put ass in seats. And this guy in the next 10 years could be something real big in the world of pro wrestling.
And in the sport of pro wrestling, he's already gone to the mountaintop. He won the gold medal at the Olympics. So in terms of doing what you want in that sport, there you go. And so, I mean, I would say it doesn't, I wouldn't put it past him to make the jump here, to the pro wrestling ranks and go into the show business.
It's almost a far gone conclusion that if you're an Olympic gold medalist and you get offered a job by WWE, you're probably going to get hired.
And he's young, and what we heard recently with WWE.
That's what they want.
Yeah, they want somebody who's young, that they can mold, who they feel can be a real main eventer. Now, does the guy have the personality to back that up? I don't know, but maybe that's why you want to be a Paul Heyman guy. So
let Paul do all the talking. Did wonders for Brock. Exactly.
When Brock yelled at him.
Exactly. I mean, he's done wonders for Brock. He did wonders for Punk. Not that Punk needed it. And he's doing wonders for Roman. Not that Roman needed it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it would be a great accessory to Gable.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for supporting us with the technical issues. Yeah, something with StreamYard blipped our show off. I know a lot of people watch us over there, but that's okay. If you're popping over here to YouTube, why just subscribe to our YouTube, guys? We have a ton of stuff on our YouTube. We stream live on it all the time, and YouTube is usually better with the live streams than anything here. I think it's really cool that WWE's like in the wake of all the cuts they made to NXT, that if the rumor is they're trying to get somebody big like this, that I'm okay with it here. You want to jump into some questions while we're still live?
Let's do it, man. Let's jump
I like this one here. We have a lot of like Q&A. UFC, AEW, like athletes coming into WWE. So Randy, he's with us all the time. Randy. I love saying that like Aziz Ansari. Randy. And funny. Have you seen the movie Funny People? Go see the movie.
I love Funny People.
It's a good movie. He goes, "Hey, Jose and Kev, question: if WWE bought UFC, people will crap on it. But if AEW does it, they will praise it for crapping it." I agree with that. It's just the tribalism in internet wrestling culture right now is at an all-time high. And I think making fun of WWE is at an all-time high. I get it. They've released a lot of wrestlers this year while making some record profits, and they're doing different things with their budget that on the surface to fans and observers in the industry is just eye-boggling. And there are a lot of beloved guys who are not with WWE anymore, gals as well. And it's just, I get it. Making fun of WWE is fine. Praising AEW, the issue becomes then with this, it has that ECW vibe, whereas ECW versus everybody, you know what I mean? But also you watched ECW. I'm talking about original ECW, right? I'm talking about for the younger fans, people who are in like their 20s. They're like, they've heard about it. They've watched the documentaries on Peacock and the network, right? But like at the time, I was a teenager. I had friends who were hardcore ECW, and they would have to wait Friday night, Saturday night, whenever they could find it syndicated on TV and tape it. And they would call me all these awful names because I liked Raw, and I would check out Nitro. You know what I mean? And it was like, why are you watching this? And all this different stuff. That is back, but obviously the internet is at a much larger scale.
No, so it's amplified. It's amplified now. Yeah, the internet has definitely facilitated that. But to answer this
WWE
question,
at one point, I think had it. I've heard the rumor they were talking about buying UFC well before it blew up in the mid 2000s. Mm-hmm. When WWE had Monday Night Raw on what was then TNN, and that would have become the Spike TV network.
Spike TV. Yep.
Spike was a huge part of UFC's growth. Massive part of it. And they were asked, hey, is it cool if we put a UFC show on after Monday Night Raw? And WWE could have said no. They were involved in the decision. And they said, yeah, it's good for you as our network partner. We appreciate you asking us for that in terms of programming. Yeah, go ahead. But a lot of people think that was a big reason why so many wrestling fans follow UFC. And that's like 10, 15 years ago. And the Ultimate Fighter and that reality show, which kind of ran its course, right? There were some last few seasons of that were just kind of like, nah, but at the time, that was kind of a groundbreaking move and really, really established UFC as a special brand. And good on UFC. I do think there's some things they could do that are better for the fighters and for the rankings. And there's things wrong with the UFC. But also, it's still the premier brand in the sport. There's still the best fighters in the world go there and fight. So you can't deny it.
Yeah, I think that if going back to this question and answering this question, I think the entire IWC will just get on their knees.
I've never despised a regular term more in my entire life. Go ahead. They get on their knees.
What the internet wrestling community?
The internet wrestling community demands action. We demand action.
They would get on their knees and praise Tony Khan if he ever did buy the UFC. If they did it, if Vince did it, if our friend Vince, Mr. Vince Vincent Kennedy
This
McMahon.
is the death of mixed martial arts. Vince McMahon is going to destroy it.
You have it right on the nose, Kevin.
Yes. Exactly.
Yep, that's exactly what'll happen.
Maju says, any word on Daniel Bryan? We have no word on him. I mean, the last word we heard from Cassidy, shout out to Cassidy Haynes, bodyslam.net, who broke that big story that he's a lock. He's a lock for AEW, and the allure for him to go to All Elite Wrestling when he was negotiating a new deal after his contract ran out at WWE was he wanted less dates. All right, so less pound on his body, so he'd have more time to be a father. And that was something he said publicly promoting WrestleMania this year, where he was in the main event, right? And he got a great send-off from WWE. Also, the last few years in WWE, he was working as a consultant as well. So he was consulting on storylines and doing other things. I think Daniel Bryan wrestles in AEW. I think he does some cool things. He wants to wrestle in Japan. He can do that through AEW and still have some stuff here in the States and still make a pretty penny. And probably not have to work nearly as much. So if AEW gives him everything he wants and he's happy and he gets to have cool wrestling matches, more power to him. That's the open market now. I mean, I wouldn't say open market, but opener market that pro wrestling is right now, especially at the televised level.
Just look at Daniel Bryan come back at SummerSlam and just put everybody's, suspicions of him going to AEW completely down to the floor.
Yeah, that's not.
I thought D-Bro was going to go to All Elite. What happened? You sold out. Oh God. Question here from AJ
that would be wild. And also he would get. Do you think he'd get a heel reaction if he did that?
He probably would. Nah. They love him in WWE.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I don't think so.
People
AJ
love
Hoover's
surprises.
asking, who do you think is coming with Dan Lambert next week? You wanna throw out some names?
Yeah, I mean, Masvidal and Amanda Nunes were with him on Dynamite a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I think Amanda Nunes for sure. Maybe Dustin Poirier. That might be a big name to bring over to AEW in order to back him up.
Who's an American top team? Because that's Dan Lambert's stable, right? That's his wrestling camp. Who's an American top team that he could bring there? That is also UFC.
That's true. Oh man,
worth looking up here.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking right now.
We're doing our research live in real time. Yeah. So it'll be interesting, man. I wouldn't say it's the hottest angle that AEW has. The stuff they have going on with whether or not Adam Hangman Page is going to fight for the title at All Out, it appears that that's not the direction they're going in.
Yeah, Poirier is American top team.
Yeah. Other people saying in terms of wrestling personalities that could also do, or MMA personalities could also do wrestling. People bring up King Mo, who did some time in Impact Wrestling, wrestled a little bit, very lightly. And Chael Sonnen.
Chael's old though. He
hasn't wrestled yet though. He
hasn't
any pro wrestling matches yet.
He can cut a hell of a promo though. I'll tell you.
Hell of a promo. Definitely hell of a promo. And he did a little promo for Dynamite with Malachi Black and Cody's first match. Like he did just a social media prediction of the thing for them. So I mean, he's familiar with them and he hasn't wrestled yet. I think Chael's fighting days are done. Maj sending in this one, Filthy Tom Lawler. Filthy Tom Lawler has been wrestling for a very long time. Last few years, very established, quite the character, loves wrestling, he's very much a wrestling fan. He's been doing a show with a Wrestling Observer talking about wrestling, loves it. But he's a fighter. He's a very successful fighter. Have you ever heard a very funny story from him? He broke up with a girl. It was very, very sad. He's at an Impact Wrestling show. It's maybe 8-9 years ago. And he's drunk in the front row. And he's yelling at Sting in the ring. Get off my screen. Get off. But he's at the show yelling at Sting to get off my screen. I thought that was funny. Yeah.
That actually reminds me really quick before we sign off for today. Mm-hmm. Bronson Reed made the news today, and I thought of including this, but now that we're about to sign off and you brought up something that reminded me of this story, let's talk about it, because Bronson Reed, as you guys know, was released last week. Funny enough, Bronson Reed was trolling NXT last night.
Oh.
And he put up a GIF. It's a Simpsons GIF of a guy watching TV, and he shoots it. He's like, that's crap on TV. Boom. And people just started blocking him and trolling him. He's like, why are you hating on WWE, the company that gave you your name, and you still have the handle? And then he's like trolling them back. So Bronson Reed right now is on a troll.
And he's on a troll. He's got a right to be. Like he's got a right to be to a degree. He's not done wrestling. Hey, he's a name. I want to talk about people going from WWE to AEW. I would say that makes complete sense. Makes complete sense. If not AEW, I would love to see him in New Japan. I think he'd be a perfect fit for them in terms of they love large, super heavyweight foreign wrestlers. He's proclaimed that he's the best super heavyweight in the world. There's some big names you could do some special stuff with. I think him and Jeff Cobb would be a fantastic a fantastic match on paper. So love to see what happens there. SC Williams say, are we ready for Ric Flair versus Sting in AEW? Ric Flair his 70s taking on Sting in his 60s.
Yo,
Ric Flair getting out of his WWE deal recently is like, well, I mean, AEW teased that Ric's going to do something with them. They've teased it. They did that. They did those little Easter eggs on TV, but they want to do Easter eggs for everything. They want to do Easter eggs for everything just to keep people talking. Yeah. Yes. I don't think Ric Flair needs to wrestle again in his 70s.
It'll be hilarious where we get the final match in WCW, Ric Flair versus Sting, and have it open up an AEW Dynamite, Ric Flair versus Sting. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I mean, Ric Flair, how old is he? Like 75?
Yeah, no. I mean, north of 70.
Right?
So, yeah. Okay. So I mean, Rick doesn't need. He can do the speaking tours. He can do the ads. Yeah, there was an ad on NXT last night with him giving a chop to LA Knight. I thought that was funny about car shield.
Well, he's got that car shield money now, bro.
Yeah, but
he's got the car shield money.
LA Knight bumping his ass off for a car shield commercial for a
dude. Sweet. So I recently started rewatching Brooklyn Nine-Nine again because the season premiere starts next week. I love
very
Brooklyn
funny
Nine-Nine.
show.
Very funny show. LA Knight is in a scene in season 2 where Terry Crews is marrying a couple in the gym, and then they do a cutaway scene, and then you just see LA Knight with his big ass arms just standing there, and Terry Crews, who's another big dude, he's like what 6'5" or 6'6" or something like that, just made Eli Drake, LA Knight, look completely minuscule. But funny thing that LA Knight was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Didn't know that.
Before we get out of here, Eli texting in. I want to get these questions to people who are with us live. Once again, top story. If you're here, guys, we do this every weekday when Facebook lets us. We do this every weekday in the 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern hour. So make sure your notifications are on whatever app you're following us on. Eli goes, what matches are you looking forward to on AEW, Jose and Kev? Do you see any debuts tonight? If they're going to do any big debuts, I think there'll be some. Everrise popped up a few weeks ago. They were a team that was in NXT, got released. They popped up as Team 2.0, but it wasn't promoted like a giant premiere. There's no shot at them. It's just the way it was treated. And they really, serve the purpose of losing in a 6-man tag match. I could see some minor ones because you have some of those people with their NXT release deals coming up. Not this most recent batch, but I'm talking ones from like June, right? So there's a possibility some people coming up. I think any big debuts they have are going to be reserved for the Grand Slam show. That's a Dynamite. It's going to be in the Arthur Ashe Stadium. And that is after All Out. I think All Out's going to have maybe a surprise or two. And definitely that show August 20th. If that's the destination for CM Punk to return in Chicago, the First Dance, United Center, 20,000 seats, that's a place to do it. That's a place to do it. I don't know if you need – I think you get more teases tonight. I think you get more teases.
I think we're going to get more Easter eggs, more teases tonight. I don't think we're going to get a big debut, but I think we're going to get.
I don't mind being wrong at all.
Me neither. Yeah. However, but I think we're going to get a pretty solid show. There's not like I'm looking at the lineup right now for the preview. There's not like a big marquee match that I'm looking at and I'm like, oh wow, like I can't wait to watch. I am very interested in the Chapter 4 of the Labors of Jericho. Jericho's going to be going up against Wardlow, with MJF as the special guest referee. So that'll be very interesting to see how that pans out. You guys know there's going to be some shenanigans involved in that. So we'll just see how that... Shenanigans!
If one of you boys says shenanigans one more time, there we go. Super Troopers reference. Go and check it out. I'm enjoying the Labors of Jericho. This is the least interesting one for me.
It is because
he took on
the
Nick
first
Gage.
two-
Did Nick Gage in a death match. He took on Hoovy Toon in like the throwback WCW Cruiserweight match, right? He beat Sean Spears. That was fine, right? But the Hoovy match, the Nick Gage match, those were interesting, right? They did some special stuff with those. Those felt like pay-per-view matches in their own right, as attractions and unique things. I don't know. They got to do something interesting right before All Out, right? So there may be a week off where they don't do the Labor, and then they'll do that like the fifth one. And then we get Jericho, MJF at All Out. Crowd going to be really hot for that. And I hope this one's better than, MJF versus Cody. Because I was at MJF versus Cody. I went to that show, Revolution. And the match was fine, but it was overcooked. They had a bunch of different things on it. And that was after Cody had to go through all the different labors, the same type of thing, like different things that he had to get through. I wonder if they'll do, the hot angle they did to build up to that. They did several different little angles to build up to Cody and MJF. And MJF's such a heel, has to make you go through all the different things and really stir the pot, right? Remember they did the lashes. Where he's like, I have to give you these lashes. I have to whip you. And that is a humiliating, physically awful thing. Is Jericho gonna go through that? Is he gonna have to all right, if you get this,
that'll be his final labor.
I think it's a cool way to get to it.
So okay,
you just sit there and take it, and there's nothing you can do.
That might be MJF's signature thing to do now when he's having these big time rivalries with big names, So I don't know. I think that's actually really interesting. I'm not opposed to seeing that. We got Mike watching us here. Rick Ucchino's the fifth labor of Jericho.
Shout out to our very own Rick Ucchino. Rick does a lot of our great interviews with WWE superstars. I host the Inside Cradle with him on Sportskeeda Wrestling every Thursday. We're hopefully trying to hunker down a really big guest for this week's show, so I'll know more about that. So definitely check out everything we're doing on Sportskeeda Wrestling. If you like these guys, we do shows nearly 6 days a week. A ton of special content coming SummerSlam week. You will be in Vegas for that. So that's pretty sweet.
Will be.
So we have a bunch of live stuff from Vegas to check out. And also maybe some big things here. I love this comment here from Christopher Travers, who has just been doing all the jokies and the comment. Chris goes, I heard Nick Gage is handing out reservations with that pizza cutter. Hey, get a slice.
What a coincidence where he's slicing Jericho's face in the middle of a Domino's commercial. Just, you can't plan it any better than that.
I mean, if you're Domino's, you could have liked it. I heard all the mess about that. Thank you guys so much for being with us and just spending your time. I've seen how much time you streamed here today, and you guys were with us the whole time. Technical issues aside, don't worry, we'll figure it all out. All right. If you haven't done already, go ahead and give us a follow on the old social media machines. 100,000 strong with us on Instagram. Go ahead and check us out on Twitter as well at SKWrestling_. Go ahead and follow us there. A Snapchat. Our Snapchat's blowing up, dude. We have a very popular Snapchat. That's right. Snapchat coming back. All right. Coming back. Trucker caps coming back. A Snapchat coming back. And then the next thing you know, we're gonna have to get a MySpace again. We got that going on. What do you got going on, bud?
I got the debrief tonight, Kevin. We got the debrief. We're going to be covering AEW and NXT for the week. Our take on it, that's going to be live on our Sportskeeda Wrestling Facebook and YouTube channel and on Twitter. So make sure you check us out tonight. Hopefully we don't have any streaming interruptions or issues tonight, but make sure you are subscribing to the YouTube channel. In case you can't watch it on Facebook, you can head over to YouTube and check us out. Tomorrow I got Recons of Wrestling. Rico will be in studio with me tomorrow. So that's going to be awesome. We're going to have a special interview ahead of Pro Wrestling Action coming up on the 22nd. So make sure you check us out, Recons of Wrestling, on YouTube and on Facebook.
It's not slowing down. We have SummerSlam next week. We have a takeover next weekend. All right. And then right after that, we'll have Rampage too. So we'll have that Rampage.
We're not getting any rest for a week straight, Kevin.
I'll be at the Rampage show. I'll be at the Rampage show. So if you guys are going, I want to meet fans too. If you guys are going to wrestling shows, we're real people. I will fist bump and do the picks and all that fun stuff with people. And
not me. I live in a bubble.
You live in a bubble? You're a bubble boy? You're a bubble boy? The Bubble Boy. Wow, we're doing all the different comedy TV references today. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Remember, when watching wrestling, there's this very important thing you have to do. Whether or not you like AEW, WWE, and you want to scream about the internet wrestling community will not stand for this injustice of not booking our favorite professional wrestlers, not superstars. We like pro wrestling, not superstars. Just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Just take that. Breathe it in and let it out.
Oosa,
Just remember.
oosa.
That's right.
Oosa.
You're supposed to enjoy wrestling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.